All right, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast, and I am super excited to be here today with Nicole. Nicole, do you want to just kind of introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do?
My name is Nicole J. Butler. I'm an artist. I'm an actress. That's how I make a living, but I wear a lot of hats. So I write, I paint. A lot of my paintings are behind me here. I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised, and I went to college in Iowa as a Spanish major because I like foreign languages, and I studied a few of them in high school. And the closer I got to graduating, the more I realized, I don't think I want to be a translator interpreter. And I took a few classes here and there to decide what else I wanted to do, and took an acting class on a whim. And the acting bug bit me. and
Wow.
Yeah. And so here I am in LA. I've been in LA for 24 years, making a living as an actress for the past 18. I feel so just fortunate and blessed to be able to say that. And now I'm transitioning into doing more writing. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
That's absolutely great. And for those of you who might not recognize the voice, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you sort of went, I guess you would say, viral. Is that the right way to say it now? There's a viral commercial from State Farm Insurance. And I know that that's probably hard to get away from, but it's certainly what actually drew me to the fascination of watching your YouTube channel and so much more. And that's SHE SHED CHERYL from State Farm. Is that right?
That is correct.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So there's so many questions I have. It's cool because you can't go anywhere and say SHE SHED CHERYL and no one not know who that is. I asked 3 or 4 people today just out of curiosity, you know who that is, SHE SHED CHERYL? They're like, oh yeah, the shed burnt down. And I'm like, yeah. So what a weird coincidence that I'm actually doing a podcast over the shed industry and want to talk with her about, hey, to me, she's more known than anyone whenever it comes to the shed industry. So what I wanted to ask you, just a couple of thoughts I had in mind, and I guess I'll start there. Playing the role of SHE SHED CHERYL in particular, how's that helped better or change career opportunities for you? More recognizable, or?
Yes, that's exactly it. More recognizable. My reps are able to get me into rooms by saying, SHE SHED CHERYL. Casting directors are like, oh yeah, call her in. That's a huge part of it. And a lot of times it opens doors that would otherwise might be closed or harder to get into.
Sure. No, that's great. Do you kind of look at sheds differently now after you've played that role, like that commercial? Do you notice them more? Like have you ever purchased a shed personally?
I rent my apartment, so
Okay.
I don't have a shed. When I buy, I will have a SHE shed. I
There
always
you
say
go.
my entire apartment is a SHE shed, basically. But yes, I do look at sheds differently. When the audition first came in, I had no idea what a SHE shed was. I knew what a shed was. My parents have one, and I knew what that was. And so I went on to Pinterest, and I saw all these cool things that people were able to do with sheds. And now, after the commercial, years after the commercial now, sometimes I still just pop into Pinterest just to see what's new as far as SHE sheds go, which has also transitioned into me.
Oh, for sure. Yes,
I'm just
absolutely.
fascinated. I'm fascinated. Also on social media, people who have sheds, mostly, well, SHE sheds, mostly women, will reach out to me and say, look, I just bought a SHE shed, or my husband just bought a SHE shed for me, and this is what I'm doing. And I love those. I love getting
That's
those.
great. Well, it's great. I mean, it's community, and how awesome that you can respond to them because you're seen as like this SHE shed owner through this celebrity status, and just really neat. Has anyone reached out to you? I'm surprised if not that more haven't reached out to you for an appearance on their shed or their shed company. I feel like that would be just an amazing opportunity for you, or that, for them, really.
I think that would be really, really cool. I'm totally open to it. A friend of mine approached me about doing a show. I signed an NDA, so I can't say exactly what it is.
Sure,
but,
understood.
And it was related to sheds and she sheds, and it's still in the talking phase right now.
Awesome.
We're still talking about it, but yeah, it's something that I would love to do. So if you know anybody,
hey,
I'll tell you what. I know a lot of shed people, believe it or not. I have run across one or two. Has there ever been like any talk about like State Farm, like doing a follow-up commercial where you actually purchased your shed? And I'm just curious. I'm asking off the cuff, kind of.
right? Not yet. Not yet. I'm hoping at some point. I ran into She Shed Victor yesterday at an audition with my husband. Yes, Reggie Corelli,
right.
which was cool, but nothing from State Farm yet. I did get invited to go to BravoCon right before the pandemic. So it was fall. It was November of 2019. BravoCon is the network Bravo's annual conference, and it was in New York City, and they built this huge shed. I don't know, have you seen that on my social media or anything?
I don't think so.
I'll have to send it to you. They built this huge she shed, and they invited me to come there and meet with people and take pictures, and people were really excited.
Oh, that's great.
Be in the she shed looking around at all the Bravo paraphernalia, and that was a good experience.
That's great. No, I love that. Yeah, I would think there's so many opportunities for you to represent shed companies, and I think that's great. What was your first thoughts whenever you're selected to be in the commercial? I know you said you went to Pinterest, but what were you? You've done acting before, so I mean, this was just one commercial of many that people may not realize you have done, over hundreds of commercials, and had guest cameo appearances in several. It's some of my favorite shows, by the way. The Mentalist, that is probably my all-time favorite show. And I know NCIS and Justified. My goodness, you've been in a lot of different things. So what was your thoughts whenever you got this commercial about sheds? You're like, what am I doing? What sheds? What is this?
The surprise factor came in when I got the first audition, because I didn't know what a she shed was. And if you don't know what it is, it makes no sense. So I once I went on Pinterest, okay, I get it. Went in for the first audition, and the first audition, of course, any audition, you want to do well, but I've been doing this so long that it's like, okay, let me go in there, do my thing, on to the next. I basically forget about, what I've done. It's like, it's over. They'll call me if they want to see me. If not, I'm on to what's next. So they called me in again and paired me up with Reggie Corelli right before we went into the room. We didn't know each other prior to the commercial. Prior to the commercial. So we went in, we did our thing. Okay, that's done. Left, went on to whatever was next, because most auditions, you never hear anything back. Like, it's just like, okay, let it go. Otherwise it makes you crazy.
Right.
And then they called and they were like, okay, you booked it. I'm like, all right, that sounds like fun. It was a job just like any other commercial that I had done. And it wasn't until it ran for about, I don't know, I want to say like maybe 9 months. And then LA caught on fire. Like, we catch on fire every year. I'm sure you see it on the news.
Right.
Yeah. And they took it off the air. And I'm like, oh, it must be because LA's on fire and it's not cool to,
Yeah. How coincidental, right?
Right. But then when it came back, they ran it and ran it and ran it. And everybody was like, I see you all the time. People were yelling she shed at me. Strangers were yelling she shed at me on the street. and I stream all my TV, so I didn't see how much it ran, but people kept telling me it's running all the time. And that's when I knew there was something different about this spot that resonated with a whole swath of people.
Hello, Shed Builder. With each new year, builders are searching for ways to increase efficiency and safety. Simply put, the Joey PIVOTLIFT is an investment into your building crew and your bottom dollar. Manufacturers are able to save hours and dollars by making painting, decking, and roofing a safer and quicker process. The Joey PIVOTLIFT turns 360 degrees inside of a 50-inch radius and lasts an average 8-hour workday before needing charged. It has a minimum platform height of 61.5 inches, allowing you to reach into areas with ease versus the traditionally used 6-foot ladder. No tripping or falling hazards exist, and no need to climb down and restock. For roofers, simply load your metal on the lift prior to getting started and throw your roofing screws into the built-in tool tray. Pricing is just $8,295 for the 60 series, $9,685 for the 70 series, and $10,675 for the roofing model. For exact pricing that includes tax and delivery to your door, contact the Shed Geek at info@shedgeek.com or dial 618-309-3648. We're raising building standards with Joey PIVOTLIFT.
So the shed industry is kind of unique in that, it's very fragmented and we have all of these different companies from large big box stores to small mom and pops. Lots of plain community influence through Amish and Mennonite craftsmanship and builders, and really it's kind of just all over the place, but it's boomed. I mean, it's really taken off well, and to recognize our moment in the industry where it's doing well. I know during the pandemic we had some of our most prosperous years in terms of like moving units. So I think people are looking for that personal space is the key. Your commercial, I think, resonated for the purpose that you paint and you write. And a lot of times people want their own space to go do that. And it might be yoga, and it might be playing music, or it might be whatever, a wood shop, whatever it is that you enjoy doing as your hobby. And I think people really appreciate that individual space. And She Shed just makes sense, right? It rolls off the tongue good. I mean, there's signs everywhere that says She Shed and My Little She Shed and My Man Cave and things like that. And I think people recognize with that or respond to that more than anything.
Yeah, I totally agree. As someone who has always been creative, been bookish, and I grew up with 6 younger sisters. And do you have siblings?
I do. I have 5 siblings.
Okay. So, where are you in the lineup? Where are you?
The youngest.
Oh, you're the youngest. Okay, so you were the one that was pestering everybody else.
Yeah.
Still do.
I was the oldest, and I was always looking for a corner, a spot under the dining table, somewhere where I could read a book and not have one of my siblings crawling on me or whatever was going on.
Right.
Now I live alone, so like I said, the whole place is my she shed. But I totally get needing that space where you can focus on whatever it is that floats your boat.
How difficult was it for you to move from the Midwest? We're both Illinois, so that's what's kind of cool. You lived in Chicago. My dad actually lived in Aurora for some time, so it was right outside the city. This is back in the 60s. He, there was no work, so he moved up there for work. He's since obviously been back, raised a family, and I live in the very southern tip, actually, of Illinois. But I think to myself, how difficult would that have been 24 years ago to take that leap of faith and say, hey, I want to go out here and I'm going to give this a shot. I know people, so the town I live in is Metropolis. Okay, so the only reason that might be known is it's the official hometown of Superman. It's in the very, very bottom of the state, and there's a Superman statue and all of this. So I always like to joke, you'll never see me and Superman in the same room at the same time.
I love it.
But it's so that would probably be the most, thing that it's notorious for. I guess where I was going with that was there's not always a lot of opportunity in the smaller rural areas that we are. I think, wow, what would it have been like? I know a guy here in town from Metropolis who went out to Hollywood. I know several that actually have done some video work on several different Netflix things, and then came back and said, gosh, it was just not for me. You know, there's a whole lot of things that I couldn't adjust to, and lifestyle or finances or so many things. You stuck it out, and your story kind of tells that, right? You were like, hey, I struggled. I went with like $20 or something. I was reading one of your articles. You're like, I went with $20 in a dream and, you know, gave it a shot.
Yeah, it was $222. I will never forget that. And I felt like I spent half of it the first time I bought groceries, and I just bought like 4 things. I'm like, where's my money going? Things are so expensive here. Fortunately, what helped me to stay here was the fact that I did know a few people here who had come out here from my college theater department. So I was able to stay with a former college roommate for a month until I got my bearings and I got a job and figured out where I wanted to live. Also, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that if I failed miserably out here, just, you know, like about to end up on the street, I could always go home. So that really gave me wings, knowing that I had a foundation that I could go back to, and that they wouldn't make fun of me, that they would, you know, embrace me for having tried. So that helped a lot. But yeah, this was a weird place. It took me a couple of years really to acclimate to it, not just in terms of the weather. The weather was awesome, but in terms of being around people who are willing to do anything for their shot at fame, anything to anybody, and not care about it. I wasn't used to that. So what I learned was to stay away from those people. And eventually you find your tribe. And when I see people that are like that, because they're still all around, I get away from them. Like I just, you know.
I love that. I love that. I love that whole segment there that you just said. It's finding your tribe. What an important thing for us to take away in today's world, to, you know, find those people that are going to support you, be around those people that are going to push you to be better. Right. And I love that. I love that, because I would imagine it is so competitive. That's something that most people seek, is that moment of fame, because it provides opportunity and so much other. But it sounds like you were really raised with some benchmarks that said, hey, wait a minute. I need to look at this and check myself and say, who am I ultimately, and what do I want? And I love that. That's great.
Yeah, I have to be able to live with myself. And so I have
to make
decisions that support that. And one thing that my mother drilled into me, she drilled 2 things into me. One of them was, you don't say everything you think, because that was an issue for a while. But the other thing was...
Been there. I understand. I can relate to that more than you know. Sorry.
Very important lesson. The other huge lesson she taught me was, you do not just do any old thing for money. You know, not that I was doing any old thing for money, but but she just wanted all of her girls to know that money is not your God. So I came out here because I love the craft of acting. And of course, I needed money to survive, but money's just a tool. Money is not my God. And so I'm, you know, if you're offering me money to do something that my gut says this isn't right for me, then I'm okay with walking away.
Hello from the Shed Geek. Let's take a walk through My Shed 3D. With My Shed 3D, your company can simply add a 3D builder button to its website. Once the customer clicks onto the 3D builder button, they will enter some basic information to get started. Remember, this information is captured in your Leads tab, whether or not the customer designs a building. This is very valuable information that turns a cold call into a warm lead. Next, they begin the design of their shed by selecting a primary use, a style, and a size that best fits their need. My Shed 3D has multiple styles that are available and consistent with traditional and barn styles within the shed industry. However, if you offer a customized or non-traditional style, My Shed Solutions can build that design for future use. We can also save on some design features that make it easy to adjust without a major rebuild or added fees for design changes. For instance, want to offer a steeper roof pitch? Just navigate to the Settings tab. Then click the Building Models. Click Edit Building and just enter the new roof center height, and the design changes will reflect on this style option. This will save you thousands versus traditional design changes that need to build a whole new style to match your design. From here, simply choose the style, siding, and color. Then choose a trim and roofing style and color. Next, let's add a door. That was goofy. Next, let's add a door. It is required to add a door to move forward with the design, as at least one ingress-egress option is necessary. Then add some design changes for personalization. Maybe some windows, or a porch, or some interior shelving. Next, just click Save Design and the customer will receive an automated text with all the features of the design to the email address entered at the beginning. From here, they can edit the design, view the details of the design, pay now to order the shed, or click Rent to Own to complete the necessary steps to purchase a shed they designed with My Shed 3D. The design enters the admin panel as a quote, and this is where the manufacturer can update the progress of the design once a deposit is taken. My Shed, from design to delivery, we have you covered. That's right. That's right. Sometimes you have to know your value and your convictions and what makes sense, and ultimately those things stick with you. I mean, look at how the commercial really stuck with you. Right? So what if that were something you didn't really enjoy, but you've done it for money? Next thing you know, you're famous for the things you don't want to be famous for. You've done so much of these different commercials and acting roles and all that. What would you say has been your favorite so far?
Oh boy, that's really hard. One that sticks with me is my appearance on Mike and Molly. I don't know if you're familiar. It was a comedy that was on a few years ago, CBS comedy. And I was cast in the very last episode. So it was the series finale. And this group of actors and actresses had been working together for so long. They were a tightly knit, really cohesive group. And they were leaving one another. So it's like a graduation. If you think of your graduation, you got all your friends, you've been together forever, and now you're going off your separate ways. So the energy was so high there, and just being a part of that. And before the show, when some cast will circle up, have a circle, hold hands. So they invited me and other members of the guest cast to do that with them, and it was just like, the energy there was so strong that it was palpable, and it was just all positive, and I will never forget that feeling.
That's great. Yeah, so well spoken. I appreciate your response on that. I'm familiar with the show for sure. I mean, I went back and definitely looked at some of your other appearances, and but I actually recognized you in the Super Bowl commercial because I had been watching like your YouTube channel and all of that so much. The John Travolta and I'm terrible with names, so the guys from Scrubs.
Zach Braff and Donald Faison. Yes.
Yes.
And a lot of people may or may not have known you were like there. I went back and read where you said you had a speaking part, and it ended up being cut, but I recognized you, and I was like, hey, I don't know if you guys checked this out, but to the people who follow me in the shed industry, I was like, that was She Shed Cheryl, like on the ladder. Like, so for me to be able to recognize you after watching that, and part of that's from following your YouTube channel, which I wanted to ask you about, like, what is your reason for wanting to connect with your audience? Because you do such a good job in with a monologue, especially in connecting with your audience. What kind of drives that for you?
Well, the impetus behind starting my YouTube channel was because my mother had started one, and I wanted to encourage her. So it was like, oh, I'll do one too, and we'll talk about it together. And Since then, her channel has gone on to, she's got just under 100,000 subscribers now. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah.
That's great.
And I stopped for a while. And then I started again when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, just because I wanted to share all of the things that I was going through that I didn't know that I was going to go through. And I'm like, this might help somebody else who's going through the same thing. And after that, well, I guess it feels like there's never really an after once you've been diagnosed with any type of cancer, because you're always kind of in the hopper checking, scanning all this stuff. But after active treatment was over, I continued because I met some really good people on my channel, and I enjoyed talking with them, sharing my life with them. They share their lives with me in the comments, and it's just a wonderful group here on my channel. There on my channel, we don't do drama. There's every now and then there'll be a weird comment. I'm sure you get that too, where you're like, come on, why are you even over here talking crazy? But
yeah, well, yeah, I one of the things that, so for me, it's a matter of, I put a post out recently that talked about sort of just a thank you to my wife. So me and my wife have been together since I was 15 years old. So I'm 42. We literally grew up together. 27 years we've been together, 23 years of that in marriage. So, I mean, for me, she's my best friend, right? And me and her have talked about it multiple times. Like, gosh, how many times could both of us have just walked away from this, because we struggled, whether it be financially or just to get along, or through our 20s and 30s, gosh, we just weren't mature enough to handle certain things. And probably in my 40s, I'm still working on it, to be honest with you. She has a tall task with me. I'm certain. I've married up for sure. But, one thing that we find that was common ground is that she was diagnosed with breast cancer in November of 2020. A 1.3 centimeter tumor that was 2.6 within a week. And this was right at the onset of COVID. And we couldn't even get into the surgery to get the port put in to start her treatments from chemo. So, I mean, we were really lost, there for a while. And some of the things you've said even on there, I wanted to have her here with me today just to talk to you, because, she's told me before, she says, I kind of feel like I want to start something that supports women who've been through this, that have experienced the same things. And when you say the same medicines that she's on your YouTube channel, it just hits me a little bit differently. And I'm like, gosh, it doesn't matter if it's celebrity, it doesn't matter what it is, that's real. And it's always there. It's just kind of always there is what she tells me. And we go through it together, but she's the trooper. She's the hero in this story. And I'm like, wow, it's just always there no matter what. Financial troubles, doesn't matter. She's there. Bad weather, it's there. And you always have to be cognizant of it. So your YouTube channel and the things you've said have spoken to me personally.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And please tell your wife hi. And she's my pink sister.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yeah, it's been a struggle, but honestly, she's good now. She's got long hair coming back now, and you know what? We're doing just fine. We're happy, and we like to say God is faithful, and we've just we've been really happy through this whole thing by trying not to be too far up or too far down, and just kind of steady as wins the race, I guess.
Yep, that's all it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And and it is, and faith plays a large role in it. When I was diagnosed, I had to just sit with myself for a bit before I even told close friends, and say, okay, well, this could go in any kind of way, because there's a lot of waiting. As you know, there's a lot of waiting between appointments. So it's like, okay, you have breast cancer. All right. And then there's like 3 weeks before you see the next doctor.
Right.
You're going, somebody needs to get a little more serious around here. I don't know. Is it just me?
Yeah. You spend a lot of time alone with your thoughts. And I really just had to think, all right, well, if this is my time, if this is how I go out, I feel like I've had a good life. I have good people in my life. I had to really just be okay with
Mhm.
with going out, like I feel like God would be happy with me. And I had to make peace. Fortunately, it wasn't my time. I'm still here.
That's right.
But really it's a lot. And I don't think you come out of it the same way that you went into it.
ShedHub.com is the shed industry's very first two-sided marketplace that allows you, the shed seller, to list your inventory on a site specifically designed for selling sheds. ShedHub establishes more qualified sales leads and helps your customers find you with a simple online search. Shoppers searching where to buy sheds and sheds near me have grown by 200% in the last 2 years. This means even if the buyer wants to visit a sales lot to purchase a shed, their shed buying journey started with a simple Google search. They can actually check out and purchase the shed straight from ShedHub if they prefer to shop online. ShedHub does not charge any commission for sheds you sell. We simply charge the monthly subscription. Your sales commission is still yours to keep. Sheds listed on ShedHub will have first page search results in 91% of cities, or where to buy sheds is searched. For special pricing only available through Shed Geek, simply go to geek.shedhub.com to see the promo codes that allow you to save as much as 50% off the first 12 months of your subscription, and over 75% for companies with multiple sales locations. Sell more sheds using shedhub.com. No, I would agree. She's been my hero through the whole thing. I said a couple of times, and I'll tell the story. It's a moment of vulnerability, but I just remember being with her for so long, and I remember us having some uncertainty at one point, right? Because we just didn't know what was going to happen. And she was solid. She was absolutely solid, Nicole. She was a strong lady. And I remember specifically, husband and wife, we have our routines. We go, shut the TV off, and you go to the bedroom, and you got your little routines and whatever. And I just remember laying there in bed, and she couldn't come lay there in bed because she was so sick still. And so she would stay in the living room, and she would, and I just remember it hitting me that it was the third night in a row that she couldn't come in there. And I'm used to bumping her in the middle of the night, right? I'm used to, like, you just know that she's there. And the thought hit me, oh my gosh, what if that was permanent, And it overwhelmed me. And I went in, and gosh, I hope the audience doesn't think I'm getting too whatever. But I just went in the living room and just sat with her and just held her hand, because I was just happy to be with her, even if she couldn't be there in our normal routine. So it was a real moment for me to realize just how precious life is. And so like I said, we understand. We're happy to see that you're healthy, and we wish you so well on your journey as you move forward. Tell me a little bit about these extracurricular activities, writing and painting and acting. I mean, save a little bit for the rest of us. That's all I'm saying.
Join me. Join me.
Yeah.
There's room for everybody.
There you go. What is your favorite? I mean, what kind of captured writing for you?
I have been writing since childhood. I would write plays, and I remember my second grade, no, I think it was my third grade class, where I would write plays, and my teacher would allow me to cast them, and the students would act them out.
Okay.
And now you're supposed to write what you know. What do you know in third grade, really? Like, you don't really know anything. So I look back and I laugh. But I've always written, from poetry to stories to whatever. My mother is very artsy craftsy, so she's always encouraged being artsy craftsy. And so we've done things with clay, we've done things with sand, we've painted some things. And at some point, maybe 12, 13 years ago, I started looking at paintings differently. I love going to art museums. I would always get really close to the artwork and look at the paint strokes and, like, how is this done? And I was like, I feel like I could paint. And I got myself into Well, first I bought an easel and I started painting on my own, and everything was flat. Like I would copy other people's paintings, but I couldn't figure out how to give anything dimension. So I found a studio and a teacher, and I studied there for 3 years, and that really helped a lot. And sometimes I think we all have an activity that when you do it, time just disappears. Like I can paint for 4 hours and then look up and I'm shocked that 4 hours have passed.
Yeah.
I just love it. And some people were like, you should sell your paintings. And I've been reluctant to do that because I don't ever want it to feel like work, because it's really a place that I go to escape. And writing is something that I've always done. So I'm always up for something creative. I've made jewelry. You name it. I probably have it in my arts and crafts chest in there.
So for my wife and my daughter, it's crocheting. They love to crochet, and she's super talented. Both of them are. They actually made like my logo, my little avatar Shed Geek logo. So I put on like this suspenders and bow tie because and the glasses are actually a real thing. So I call myself a Shed Geek for the purpose that I actually collect like shed company brochures, and I read all about different sheds, whether it's the product knowledge and all that. So that's sort of a real character, but the little avatar, she created that in a crocheted blanket. And I actually love to draw, but I too, well, for me, I can't draw from imagination. I think I love creative people are my absolute favorite to be around. But I'm not creative in the sense of being able to draw from my mind. I can look at something and draw it, and it gives me so much peace whenever I can really set and focus on that. But now painting, I've never got into. I feel like it's just this whole new level, but who knows? Maybe try something out. I'll have to get me a shed one day and start painting, I guess.
It's a totally different skill, and I don't draw well. So, and when I tell people that, they're like, wait a minute, how do you paint if you can't draw? Well, like my former painting instructor told me once, he came over to my easel, and I was starting a new a new painting. So I had my charcoal in hand and I was trying to draw something from a photo.
Mm-hmm.
And he just laughed and he said, well, if you make enough lines, one of them is bound to be right. Because I had like drawn lines and erased them and drawn. So there's all these faint charcoal lines all over the place. I don't draw very well. So, they're just separate skills, but try.
Yeah.
Have you considered adding a line of shed accessory items to your sales lot?
Introducing Shedderize. Shedderize has multiple items to organize your customer's new shed. From tool shelves to workbenches with pegboard, 3-tier shelves, cord and ladder hooks, and more.
Shedderize is seeking shed manufacturers and dealers who want to partner and make these items available for your customers.
Dealers can order items for display, then complete an order form and have the items shipped directly to the customer. You can also purchase in bulk to add to your line of sheds or have inventory available right there at your sales lot. Installation is simple and takes just a few minutes for most items.
To know more, contact Dave Fisher at 866-548-1625 or visit Shedderize.com.
Shedderize, organization made easy. Yeah, I definitely want to at some point. It does bring you peace and relaxation, and whenever I can really get into a drawing and spend several hours on it and shading and different things, it just kind of the weight of the world just kind of goes away, and I really feel like it allows for your creative bubble to emerge in those moments, because that's when your mind's actually doing the most work, when you think it's relaxed, because it's actually, to me, it's bringing the most value of what creative opportunities are before you. So kind of a weird way to look at it, but for me, I always feel like after I spend a time drawing, I feel better.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel that too.
Now, writing, I haven't quite got into it. For me, I'm a little bit scattered on my thoughts, but would love to get into some of those things. Have you written a book? Do you plan to? What's your thoughts on all that?
I wrote a book years ago, it was an ebook called In the Trenches, Get Your Acting Career Out of the Dirt. And
Okay.
it's no longer relevant because so many things have changed in the industry.
Gotcha.
I've got lots and lots of stories. I got a lot of people in my head, so talking to me at all times. So I have a lot of stories to tell, and so I always have 2 or 3 projects going at once. I produced a show called Sister President back in 2020. I don't know if you've seen that.
I don't think so.
Okay, there's a show called Sister President, and it's a lot of fun. It does have some spicy language, so
Okay.
be aware of that. But from that, I was hired to write a show called Linked by Love, which premiered last Tuesday, and I can send you a link for that too.
Absolutely.
Linked by Love TV.org. That's the website. And this show was executive produced and funded by a national, I'm so sorry, I screw this up all the time. It's the Mendez National Institute for Transplant Research Foundation.
Wow. You did great.
You did great.
Yeah.
You seem like somebody who's used to remembering lines or something. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, right. And what this foundation does is it does kidney transplant research. And I was hired to write this show to reach primarily the Black community, but really anybody with who has chronic kidney disease or diabetes and hypertension, which quickly lead to chronic kidney disease. And it's about a family in which the mom is diagnosed with kidney disease and she needs a transplant. And
yeah, I'm gonna have to check this out for sure. Yeah,
please do. When I wrote it, and I was just the writer on this one, so I wrote it. I handed it over, and it was kind of like birthing the baby, handing it over for somebody else to raise, and just praying that it turned out, to be an upstanding citizen. And when I saw the trailer for it, I actually cried. I was like, this is beautiful. Like to see, to hear actors saying your words, to see the direction and things that I may not have thought of to write, but each artist in collaboration, they add a little bit to it. I think you'll enjoy it.
I'm sure I will. I absolutely love the creative idea. I'm in the process of hoping to or trying to create even that same opportunity within the shed industry through videography, like whether it be with Shed Geek to represent their company, or whether it be just to come and help build a vision for what makes sense. Video is king right now. YouTube's the second largest search engine behind Google. So that I was speaking to someone today in marketing about that very thing, that it's primitive communication is being together, seeing each other and reading body language, but video helps do that probably just as well outside of face-to-face interaction. We can accomplish so much through video. You're in LA, I'm in Illinois. We're able to, do an interview, and people can see us and understand they learn more about your personality as they see you and listen to you. So I just feel like those things would be very cool to be. And we did a commercial. We did one for a good friend of mine. It's a company I used to work for as a sales manager. And we thought, how are we going to sell a shed without selling a shed? Right. And we ended up selling him on the idea, and we did the commercial, and the idea was to turn it into a food pantry, right? So like why the shed might be used. And we told this story, where this child went to the market, and he's trying to buy some food, and he doesn't have the money to buy it. And a lady sees that, and she wants to help him out, but she doesn't know how. So she goes and starts researching sheds in the area, buys a shed, creates a food pantry, and is ultimately able to help his family through the process. We got such good feedback on this. Even the products from the industry reached out to us and said, hey, we want to make that a reality. So we're actually going to pay to have you build a shed. And they allowed me to pick where that shed went in the community. So I picked the county that I grew up in. So this creative opportunity turned into feeding families. Like, how awesome is that?
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah.
So I share your passion for those types of things. I love I feel like if you're creative, don't hide it. You know, don't suppress it. If people don't understand it, that's okay. You know, you keep being creative and you keep going, because there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and there's other people that see that and you know, appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to say we're all puzzle pieces. Everybody brings something to the jigsaw.
That's right.
And if you don't add in your piece, then there's going to be something missing. So, yeah.
Man, that's great. Gosh, I appreciate you being willing to sit down with me today. I feel like you're an easy conversationalist. You're someone I could absolutely talk to for hours. Obviously, well known for many things, and obviously we kind of connected. We were linked by sheds, I guess it looks like. So
Yes.
somehow, and if you'd have told me that was an opportunity that I would have. I typically don't get starstruck, but because the shed industry is so close to me, and the Shed podcast has been such a wonderful opportunity provided for me. Whenever you responded, I was absolutely starstruck. So I appreciate just your willingness to participate and come on the show. It means so much.
Oh, thank you. Excuse me. I was surprised and touched when I saw your Facebook post. I'm like, oh, who's this? Shed Geek, what's going on here? And you know, when I poked
Who's
around,
this guy?
I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. And I saw that you had written that you would love to have a chance to talk to me on your podcast. And I talked to my assistant, who is my sister. And she's in Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah, virtual assistant. And I'm like, you know, I want to set something up with him. And so I reached out to you, and then you all talked and everything.
Wow.
But it's such a pleasure to be on your show and to talk to you just on a personal level. I feel like I get you. I feel like we get each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely.